peoples of the land. Through the violence of resource extraction, environmental desecration, land theft, displacement, family separation, and genocide. It is important to acknowledge the through line of settler colonialism here and around the world and its continuing impact on the land that Indigenous peoples have stewarded since time immemorial. We recognize Palestinians as Indigenous peoples with an irrefutable connection and right to their ancestral land. We recognize Israel as an illegal settler colonial state that has inflicted a permanent, hostile, and belligerent occupation and apartheid, and continues to inflict immeasurable violence upon the Palestinian people. We demand the US government divest from death. When Palestine is free, so are we.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jason Call. I am the campaign manager for Jill Stein 2024. It's my honor to have this position and to have worked with Jill over the last 3 or 4 months now as we are building this campaign to be the campaign that will challenge the establishment across the country. We have a special day today. We are bringing a number of things together in confluence. One is that it is going to be Jill's 74th birthday in a few days. And so this event is a fundraiser, and we will get to the fundraising portion later. We also want to highlight the fact that we are seeking ballot access in New York, which is one of the most difficult states. In fact, the most difficult state for us to get on in right now in this election cycle. And the other thing, and the last thing, and the most important thing right now is that our mission is to stop this horrific genocide in Gaza. And so we are working to bring these 3 things together in solidarity. And with no further ado, I want to introduce a fantastic human being, somebody who has the best interests of this planet in mind as she has stepped up to run for the Green Party nominee in 2024. Please welcome Dr. Jill Stein.
Thank you so much, Jason. Thank you to everyone who's here tonight. It's really such an honor to be with you on this rally, really. It's a birthday rally, but it's a birthday rally to stop genocide in Palestine. There is no better gift that I could have for my birthday than I think that any of us could have for our birthdays than to stop this genocide, which is really the moral imperative of our era right now. And with recent developments in Gaza, with the assault on Rafah, which is taking place now, the ground assault has not yet begun in full force, but it could be at any time. It's already caused unbearable violence with the missile strikes and the bombs and so on. It's just devastation now as people have been herded like cattle to the southern end of Gaza in what is really by all means a final chapter, like the grand finale of the ethnic cleansing, as people have been herded and concentrated, and now they're being targeted like fish in a barrel. There are 600,000 children concentrated in Rafah now who are wounded, who are sick, who are malnourished, who are traumatized, and who are disabled. It's absolutely unthinkable that they are being now subjected to yet another assault. Some 100,000 people have been moved out, but where are they going to? Nowhere that has even the minimal services that are available in Rafah. And what's especially outrageous now is that Israel has choked off the final minimal flow of water, fuel, food, and medicine that was coming through the Rafah crossing. That has been stopped about 3 days ago. And to add to the crisis, we can't really see what's going on because of the 120 journalists who have been basically killed, murdered by Israel, And then most recently, Al Jazeera's coverage was shut down by Israel seizing their equipment and declaring them illegal. So this is kind of genocide on steroids now that's happening before our eyes, which is why we really could not conscience having a birthday celebration or a party. We want to pull out all the stops now. Whether that is going to take mass hunger strikes like what's going on in Princeton University now and other places, or whether it's time for the general strike and for that to get organized, we need to pull out all the stops. And one of those stops is the political resistance to empire and genocide. So this is the time that we want to go all in on ensuring that every voter across the country has a vote and a choice on the ballot, which will be an anti-genocide, anti-war, pro-worker choice on the ballot for every American. And there is an intense battle for ballot access going on in New York State right now. New York State is really it's the final stand, really. It's the last stand of the empire which is trying to keep its opposition off the ballot, in this so-called democracy. The Democratic Party has gone all out to try to keep opposition, grassroots parties, and especially the Green Party, off the ballot in New York. So we have an extraordinary battle in front of us, but it's going well. And let me just, again, here give a shout out to the students who are leading the charge with their encampments that have been so inspired and so visionary and such an energizer, I think, for everyone around the world. These encampments that have spread like a wildfire, they have been suppressed brutally by the police violence that, again, reflects what trouble our empire is in. Our empire, which is, causing endless war and devastation abroad. It also is destroying our democracy here at home. And we see that with the militarization of our police forces and the very brutal pushback against the encampments, the brutal pushback against even our right to free speech, our right to protest, and our right to even discuss and debate what is going on here in this genocide that the American people vehemently oppose, which the United Nations opposes, which the nations of the world oppose. There is consensus across the board, except in our criminal misleaders, who are the only ones who don't seem to have living, breathing hearts and souls and perceiving minds. So we have so much on our side right now. We have the values of the American people. We have the vision of the American people. We have the numbers in poll after poll that the American people want to put an end to this. And big shout out to everyone on this call, really, who's been leading the charge for an America and a world that works for all of us, for democracy, for an end to empire. So this is within our reach. And tonight, we're going to hear from some wonderful, inspired guests who are also leading the charge in this fight for peace and to stop genocide in Gaza. And our hope is that at the end of the evening, we are going to have a whole lot more strength and resolve and the courage of our convictions to do what it takes to shut down this genocide, including by ensuring that there is a strong anti-genocide campaign on every ballot across the country, and most particularly in New York, where the empire is trying very hard to shut us down. So with that, as just a brief introduction, I again want to thank everyone for being here. And I am now going to turn to our first guest, who we are so honored to have here tonight. And this is Janan Matari, who is a two-time award-winning Palestinian storyteller who has worked in the realm of publicity. She's also a mom to an energetic toddler and a snuggly pup, as I understand. And she is now dedicating her experience and her knowledge and her contacts in public relations and the media industry to help change the narrative for Muslim, Arab, and Indigenous communities. So go ahead, take it away, Jenan, and thank you so very much for being with us tonight.
Thank you for having me today. Happy early birthday, Dr. Stein. It's an honor to be here with everybody and to have this moment to officially endorse my first ever presidential candidate. I've never been all in for someone before the way that I am in for you. Growing up Palestinian was kind of a thing that your parents just kind of taught you to vote for the best interest of the country that you are living in, because no one would be good for Palestine. And that was the mentality of, I know, a majority of the Palestinian community in the United States. And I think we can safely say that for the first time, we actually have a candidate that is good for the United States and also very good for Palestine. So it's an honor to be here and to speak with you and your team and to help you with this campaign. From the very beginning, I've always watched the language of candidates and the way that they speak about Palestine, and you are incredibly direct and intentional with the way that you speak about Palestine, with the way that you give Israel its proper title of an illegal settler colony, the same way that the United States is an illegal settler colony. And I think that it's remarkable to see the community feel so seen by someone who is really, like, you are really just walking the talk. You're not saying things to appease our community the way that we've experienced in the past. I have been a Democrat for life. I really believe that there was a lesser of two evils, and unfortunately, it took a genocide of my own people to understand that that does not exist. And so we have to shake the system, and this is how we do it. And you are on the ground with the people, you are in the protests, you are unfortunately being brutalized by police alongside the students. And so I just, from the very beginning, I knew that this was the route that I was going to go. And it's only like that faith in this campaign, and that you are the right decision for our community in Palestine and the Palestinian community here, and the general American public has just, strengthened over time. So it's really, I want to be tacky and say that it's a dream come true, but it really is. I can't emphasize enough how much I was raised with the idea that there will never be a good political candidate in America for Palestine. And you understand the intersectionality of it all. There has been a heavy campaign to shame people who are centering their political vote right now around Palestine. They're, trying to claim that we are a one-issue voter. I don't understand what could be more important, like what one issue could be more important than trying to get your government to stop funding a genocide of a group of Indigenous people. So if that's the one issue that they want to, shame us all for, then so be it. But you understand that Palestine isn't a one issue. It is connected to everything. It's intersectional. It's connected to climate justice and LGBTQ rights and racial justice and education justice. And so I think that I want to make it clear that I feel like this is, as a Palestinian, I feel like this is the way to go for those who really, truly believe that Palestine is their driving force in all things politically, culturally, personally. I'm a big fan of your work. And so thank you for everything that you do. And thank you for asking me to do this. This is really, really cool.
Thank you so much, Jenan. It's inspirational to hear you and to see you and to hear your very compelling storytelling that weaves us together to a higher place. So thank you so very much for that. And I'm going to turn now to another amazing trailblazer. And this is Andy Shallal, who is a husband and a father of 4. He's best known for being the founder and CEO of Busboys Poets. an amazing restaurant group in the Washington area where art and culture and politics intentionally collide over mindfully sourced food, drinks, books, and event programming. And I had to quote from his professional bio because it's just so well said. And Busboys and Poets, anybody who's been there knows how it is just an amazing blend of politics, art, creativity, and just an exercise of the mind and the heart. So I want to thank you so very much, Andy Shallal. And if I'm not mistaken, your background is also Palestinian. Is that
I'm
correct?
actually from Iraq originally.
Iraq. Okay. So
So
Middle-
I have lived through the horrors that happened in 2003 and the devastation and the sanctions, of course, that plagued Iraq for many, many years and killed thousands and thousands of children. When we think of sanctions, sometimes we think that they're just, benign, but they're really quite devastating to especially the young, the poor, the indigent, and the people in need. So it's a real issue. But I am too honored really to be here on this momentous occasion to endorse your candidacy. I'm very excited that for once I can actually pull the lever and feel good about it, as opposed to holding your nose. I don't have to hold my nose this time. So, when I hear you speaking, you're speaking from the heart. You can see the authenticity, you can see the passion and the depth and understanding of humanity. And, we always think of candidates as this sort of avatars. They're like robots that are supposed to be programmed to say certain things and do certain things in order to get quote unquote elected. But it's refreshing to be able to hear a candidate that speaks like a normal human being, isn't one that's supercharged with AI, chat GPT type of language. So it's exciting to see somebody who really speaks from the heart like you, Jill. Whatever issue there is, I always hear and feel the passion. I've seen you in person. I've seen you online. I've seen you at rallies. I've seen you getting arrested. And you're steadfast. You don't waver. You don't compromise your key principles, and that is upholding humanity. And isn't that what it's all about? It's not about just being pro-Palestinian. It's not about just being this or that. It's really about being pro-human and understanding that we're all interlinked together, no matter where we are on this planet. And when one part of this planet is hurting, we are all hurting, and understanding that there's a connection across the globe. And the idea of we've been so programmed to believe that there's no better way, that this is just the way it is, and we have to just accept the status quo and continue to feed into the status quo, which continues to slide further and further and further away from humanity. And sometimes you get a candidate that comes and says, wait a minute, there's something wrong with this picture. There's something that needs to be done that's fundamental in the way that we see the world and the way we approach and understand our elected officials. They're human beings, and they're supposed to represent the best of us, not the worst of us, not trade and fear and division and hatred, which is unfortunately what's happening today in politics. And what I hear is somebody who really cares about human beings and every single human being, from the least fortunate to the best. We've had a chance to meet with a group of people. In fact, today we met with a group of activists to talk about what can we do in this moment, in this horrific moment where we see the devastation. But in a way, as we try to free Gaza, Gaza has freed all of us. And we recognize that, the empire is relentless. The empire doesn't know when to stop. The empire keeps going and going and going. And unless we are willing to be those interrupters in that constant churn, this will continue to get worse and worse and worse. And pretty soon, they'll come after you and me and everybody else. So I think it's important for us to continue in this very important opportunity, this liminal space that has just been opened up for us, and to have a candidate like yourself be able to have the platform to voice those ideas of how we can reshape our world in this very, ever-changing space, I think is really so important. I'm so glad that you're here at this moment. You're able to articulate a different vision for what the world could be, it should be. And I'm very excited to be part of it. So thank you for all that you do, and keep going. And thank you.
Thank you so much, Andy, and thank you for being such an inspiration and creating such a beautiful place inspired by art and music and, the world of the heart and the mind, and bring it together with our politics. And so many of us, I think, have been inspired being in your universe. And
Thank you.
we look forward to continuing to share it, and piggybacking on what you said about, the lesser evil. I want to just underscore, what we have learned, which is that really there is no lesser evil. We have two greater evils. And in fact, this politics of fear has brought us everything we were afraid of. All the reasons we were told we had to vote for the lesser evil, because we didn't want endless war, because we didn't want, nuclear confrontation, or the immigrants bashing, being bashed. And the xenophobia and all that, we didn't want that. So we kept voting for the lesser evil, which just enabled them to keep becoming more evil, to where now, so the supposed lesser evil is leading the charge now in genocide, in war, and in censorship. So, go figure. We say,
It's really
forget-
funny to say that. They say that because, like, I was reading the other day this little fable where it says that the sheep is always afraid of the wolf, but it's the shepherd that actually is the one that's going to bring him to his demise. And oftentimes we don't recognize that we are being brought to our demise through people who are so-called leaders. So we have to really be mindful, not just to look out there for what's dangerous, but look behind us and see who is leading us. To be able to really, stand up for what is right.
Exactly. And so we sort of summarize that by saying, forget the lesser evil. It's time to fight for the greater good, like our lives depend on it, because in fact they do. So
Yeah.
it's great to be in your company. Thank you so much, Andy.
My pleasure. Yeah, thank
And
you.
thank you. We are now going to go to a short video that came as a huge surprise. I was doing an interview with Crystal and Kyle and friends, Crystal Ball and Kyle Kalinske, 2 days ago. And to my absolute shock, at the end of that interview, Crystal said that they are endorsing us, which is kind of an earth-shattering thing for those who've followed, progressive politics. Crystal Ball and Kyle Kalinske, but Crystal, who has started, Breaking Points, and, has been a very successful, noted, progressive journalist, has never taken the side of independent candidates and third parties, and has always been extremely skeptical. But as she has been saying for a couple of weeks now, maybe even months, that genocide is a red line. And actually, that's what we're seeing out in the field now at campaign events. There are lots of people who've always been in the Democratic Party camp, and they have reached a breaking point. New York State, in their Democratic primary a month ago, 12% voted uncommitted, which was a big achievement, but 83% voted by not showing up, by voting with their feet and refusing to endorse Joe Biden and the Democrats. So the floor has actually fallen through here. And to me, it's equally shocking and uplifting and so energizing to see people like Crystal Ball and Kyle Kalinske giving their endorsement to our work together here to put an end to genocide. So I'm not sure who is going to switch us to that short video. Okay, here we go. Thank you, Nada.
Hey guys, it's Kyle Kalinske here from The Kyle Kalinske Show and Secular Talk on YouTube, and also Crystal Kyle and Friends. I want to wish Jill Stein a very, very happy birthday. I'm sorry that I couldn't be there with you tonight, but I wanted to lend a message of support. So we had her on the show the other day, and she really opened my eyes to a number of very disturbing things. First of all, to show you how terrible mainstream media is and how much they bury stories, I hadn't even heard of the fact that Jill Stein was assaulted at a pro-Palestine protests, and then cops had the nerve to charge her with assault. This is a presidential candidate and a woman who's over the age of 70. And they're so extreme and so egregious and so brazen that they charge her with assault when all she's doing is standing on the right side of history. Look, it reminds me of what happened during the anti-Iraq war protests. It reminds me of what happened during the anti-Vietnam war protests. It reminds me of what happened during the civil rights movement. The people who are on the correct side, the people who are doing the right thing in the moment, they get viciously smeared, and in this instance, also literally assaulted. So I heard that story, and it was grotesque, man. It was grotesque. And Jill also made another good point about how New York is effectively trying to keep the Green Party off the ballot by using dirty tricks. This is another thing that I was unfamiliar with. I mean, I know the myriad ways that they try to keep the Green Party off the ballot in multiple different states, but she gave specific examples of how New York is trying to do it. Again, this is another thing you don't hear the media talk about. And again, I'm ashamed to say that me, as somebody in media, I didn't even know about that, right? Jill also went on to make another phenomenal point about how if you look at some of these ideas that are now viewed as the duh positions on the progressive side now, a lot of it originated with the Green Party, man. Student debt abolition, free college, single-payer Medicare for all, the Green New Deal. You know, they've always led the charge in saying we're anti-war. So again, I want to wish Jill a very, very happy birthday. I want her to know that she has my support. I think she's very brave for running in this environment, in this climate. And look, bottom line is, there is one candidate in this race who is both on the ballot and anti-war. And we all know who that is. Donald Trump likes to pretend he's anti-war. He's not. Sometimes Biden likes to pretend he's anti-war. He's clearly not. He's arming and funding a genocide right now. Cornel West, I'm not sure he's going to get on that many ballots. And RFK, don't get me started. This is a guy who pretends like he's the most anti-war, but he's also in favor of Netanyahu committing a genocide and us arming and funding it. And he completely dehumanizes Palestinians on a regular basis. So from where I'm sitting, from my perspective, there's one candidate in this race that's doing the right thing and standing on the right issues. And, you know, look, fighting for it at a time that's important historically where nobody else is stepping up and doing the right thing. And so, again, very happy birthday to Jill Stein. Sorry I couldn't be there with you guys today, but I'm there with you in spirit. And Jill, we wish the best for you moving forward.
Well, thank you so much, Kyle and Crystal. That just completely blows me away. I still have not kind of gotten my hands around the fact that we have their support. And I am so grateful and really excited about what this means for the very shifting political winds that we are surrounded by right now. We really are in the perfect storm for political transformation. And as Kyle was mentioning, there are 3 pro-war, pro-genocide, anti-worker campaigns that are going to be on the ballot. And certainly RFK has the money to buy his way onto the rest of the ballot line. So there are going to be 3, Trump, Biden, and RFK Jr. There will be 3 of them dividing the pro-war, pro-genocide vote. The 3 of them will divide that up. And we, if we are on the ballot, if we can fight through New York, it's all downhill from there. We have actually 75% of the total burden of signature collection is already done. It's just New York that stands as this incredible obstacle that the empire has thrown up. It's like the empire's last stand where they're trying to keep us off the ballot. So if we get on in New York, it'll be the 3 of them dividing the pro-war, pro-genocide vote, and one of us unifying the pro-worker, anti-war, anti-genocide, and climate emergency vote. All of those constituencies together, which are really sizable and profound. considering that 68% of Americans want an immediate ceasefire and a diplomatic solution to this genocide. It could be won on that basis alone, but add to that 44 million young people locked in debt, 100 million locked in medical debt, 50% of renters who are struggling just to keep a roof over their heads and who are financially stressed just in trying to do that. So that's a lot of people who could unify if we get past this barrier in New York, and then we can begin to really run a full bore campaign. If you've got 4 campaigns that are splitting the vote, it can be won with as little as 26% of the vote mathematically. That much of the popular vote could translate into a majority of the electoral college votes, and we could actually have a win. So if anybody tells you that we're just, we're just tilting at windmills, or we're spoilers, or we don't deserve to stand up for what we want and we'll never get it, just forget that. Reject that propaganda of powerlessness. As Alice Walker said, the biggest way people give up power is by not knowing we have it to start with. We do have the power. The numbers line up in this race. This really is the perfect storm. So, sign of the times, hold on to your hat. And I think we need to aim for the stars here, because it's actually possible. And however far we get, that is a win, whether we win the White House or we win the day, by establishing an unstoppable force here for the long haul, to put an end to empire and oligarchy, and to stand up and demand an America and a world that works for all of us. So with that, now we are going to turn to another wonderful speaker and activist, Anthony Zenkus, who is a professor at Columbia University, who teaches at the School of Social Work. And he has had a long career helping both in education, but also helping people, victims of family violence, sexual assault, human trafficking, you name it. Anthony has been there with people who are struggling. So he's an activist in racial justice, income inequality, climate justice across the board. And I've had the pleasure of doing some webinars with him with Revolutionary Blackout Network, which is how we met. And it's a great honor to have you here tonight, Anthony. Thank you so much. Take it away.
Thank you, Jill, and happy almost birthday. On what is, we need to acknowledge a pretty somber occasion. And I just want to make a note that today is 2 years since the illegal occupying army in the West Bank executed Shireen Abu Akleh, who was an Al Jazeera journalist who was also an American citizen. And a subsequent CNN investigation said, as well as Al Jazeera, that it was clear that this was an execution and the shots were fired by a sniper. She's been gone for 2 years. And, it's almost as if every day there's another almost overwhelming traumatic thing that happens. And as a social worker, as somebody who works with trauma and who has experienced and survived trauma in my own life, this is a lot. This is a lot for us. If we were only in the situation where we could just scroll and see these images of children covered in blood and rubble, we would feel despair. But we are not in that situation. And the reason that I am endorsing you and your candidacy is because it is aspirational. When I was involved with Occupy Wall Street, the phrase that I loved the most, the slogan that I loved the most was, "We are unstoppable. Another world is possible." And I believe that's what your candidacy is all about. It is an aspirational candidacy. It is not a compromising candidacy. In my field, I've worked with children who've been victimized in all sorts of terrible ways. I think about the children in Gaza. A few years ago, I started looking into the research. Even before Hamas came into power in Gaza, researchers around the world who were specialists in trauma said the children of Gaza are the most traumatized children in the world. That was in the mid-2000s. And subsequent research since then showed the same thing. In some areas, the rate of post-traumatic stress disorder as high as 70% or more, which is unheard of around the world. That was before October 7th. And I think of the children there. And then I think of the young people here in this country and around the world. And I've had the good fortune and I think honor of being able to teach in schools of social work in New York, and one of them being in the Columbia University School of Social Work, where the first encampment in solidarity with Gaza sprouted up and then became a worldwide movement within like a week. These students are our moral compass. And when I think of aspirational, I think of them. I can't be in a place of despair, because then I'm just going to turn it off. I'm going to shut off social media. I'm not going to read. I'm not going to look, because if I only see those images of children covered in blood and rubble, I cannot do that without thinking there is a way beyond this, that there's a way we can stop this. Your candidacy makes me feel that, as does the aspirational community of these students that are leading the way. In my field, you know, I remember reading a few years ago about a story attributed to Margaret Mead. They asked her, at what point did real civilization start? And Margaret Mead, a noted anthropologist, also I might note a woman, because mostly that's where we see a lot of this understanding of the role of compassion in our society. Not to be gender biased, I'm just saying historically, that's how we've seen it with abolition, with the child labor movement, as you know, as well. And she said, civilization started, we found a femur bone that was healed, because femur bones take months to heal. And if somebody doesn't carry around, feed you, and keep you safe, you will die in the wild. When we were hunter-gatherers, that message is a very clear window into understanding how humans survived. For the past few 100,000 years as a species, the only reason we survived was because we were able to work collaboratively and collectively together to solve our problems. And I think that's what's before us right now. And with your candidacy, I see that. And one other parallel with my work is people who've been traumatized in their healing often feel a disconnection. And I think voters all around the political spectrum are feeling that disconnection. Democrats feel disconnected. A majority of people that voted for Biden see this as a genocide. Republicans feel disconnected from their leaders for reasons maybe I don't agree with, but they just don't feel this connection. And the suppression of the Green Party and third-party independent voters is exactly a move by the Democrats and also the establishment to further disconnect us. They want us to just basically rubber stamp what they do. Well, what's happening right now is that red line. We understand if we remain disconnected, this is what happens. This is a genocide. The only way out is through reconnection. And that reconnection happens through movement politics. That's what's different about your campaign. And I do believe that in New York, I was so upset when the Democratic administration of Governor Cuomo made it almost impossible for third parties to get on the ballot. And the reason they do that, and people aren't dumb, is because they know if they gave us all a fair shot, the Republicans and Democrats wouldn't have a chance in it. So I'm looking for that reconnection, which is that final phase of healing from trauma, whether it's a child who's been abused half of their life or a society that's been abused by a government and corporations and a system that does not recognize everyone's worth and value. And I believe your candidacy allows us that chance for reconnection. So I'm excited, and thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Anthony, for those very inspiring words. And thank you for all you do to help all kinds of people reconnect with each other, and including our campaign with the various movements and student groups and all that you're a part of. Thank you so much for being a part of our gathering tonight. And I'm going to turn now to our final speaker. Some people have been asking in the chat, what can they do if they don't live in New York? So stand by, because we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about exactly how we double down right now and seize this moment to do everything we can to stop genocide. We're going to come to that. But first, I want to introduce Medea Benjamin, who needs no introduction, co-founder of Code Pink, co-founder of the human rights group Global Exchange, the Peace in Ukraine Coalition, the Unfreeze Afghanistan, which is intended to unfreeze the $7 billion of Afghan funds frozen by U.S. banks. Medea has been an advocate for social justice for 50 years. There's nowhere that Medea is not seen and heard and felt, and just one of the most inspiring activists out there, who's always showing up on video on social media, harassing one war criminal after another, just really holding them to account when nothing else does. You can count on Medea to be there, really standing for us all, standing for the best of us. So it's such an honor to have you here tonight, Medea. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, dear Jill. I consider you a sister. We've traveled around the world together. We've worked here at home together. I remember our time in Korea, where we were fighting the U.S. militarization of Korea and the U.S. efforts to turn the Indo-Pacific into a place of war, focusing on China as our enemy, when, Jill, you have been saying, no, China is not our enemy. No country should be our enemy. We have to learn to live in peace. I've worked with you on the disgusting military budget that we have that is robbing us from so much needed money. And you are the only candidate that would say we could slash that military budget by a tremendous amount and free up hundreds of billions of dollars to use for people's real needs and for the climate. And on the issue of Ukraine, it was very hard to find people who understood that the U.S. Wanted to use the people of Ukraine to try to weaken Russia, and how the expansion of NATO was so much of a provocation. And while we condemn the invasion of Russia, it was hard to find people who understood that there too we needed to focus on diplomacy and peace talks. And, in the Democratic Party, when it came up for a vote on Ukraine, there was not one Democrat in the House, not one, who voted to stop $61 billion. That's a heck of a lot of money from going to keep a war going in Ukraine instead of pushing for peace talks. And then let's talk about the issue of Gaza. Our heart breaks for what's happening. We're a day before Mother's Day. And as mothers, as grandmothers, we just think of the women of Gaza and the suffering that they are going through. So many orphans that will never know their mothers, much less their grandmothers. And what do we see? We see two parties that, for the most part, are just endorsing, greenlighting, not only collaborating, but being partners in this genocide. I've been walking the halls of Congress every day for the last 7 months. And I must say, there are really only two people, Cori Bush and Rashida Tlaib, who we can trust on this issue. Every one of the rest of them, they will vote one way on one thing and then come out and say something else, and you never know what they're going to be calling for. And the Republicans, there's not one Republican, except maybe Tom Massey, who does it because he doesn't think that our money should be spent on foreign wars, but he's the only Republican. And the vast part of the Democrats are such war hawks. And of course, we see that in the State Department, we see that in the White House, and we think, who are these people? How the heck did they get elected? Well, a lot of AIPAC money helped them get elected, but they do not represent us. They don't represent the Democrats, and they don't represent the majority of the American people. Anthony, I think, was talking about the disconnect, and I just can't imagine another time in my life where I have felt this level of disconnect, Jill. And so that brings me to the great pleasure of endorsing you, because you are the only one who is speaking out as a presidential candidate, along with Cornel West, but unfortunately, he will not appear on many ballots. And so you are our best chance, our best hope at casting a vote against genocide. And I know how much of a sacrifice it is for you to be putting yourself out there every day. And I am just stunned by your eloquence. When I saw your interview on CNN, I was like, wow, she got to say all of that on CNN. It was quite remarkable. And you're reaching millions and millions of people with such a key message. And Jill, on this birthday, I want to say happy birthday. The world is a better place because of you, and the world would be an infinitely better place if you were our president. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Medea. It's really an honor to have you here. And just know that you're going to be tapped, okay? If we get to the White House, and we just might, there's definitely a role for you. So, just be forewarned. In fact, everybody be forewarned, because if we do turn the White House into a greenhouse and make the world a better place, nobody goes home. It's like our real work has only just begun, because the empire is not going to go quietly into this beautiful sunrise. The empire does not want to go there. But we could be in a place to make that happen. And that's thanks to the work of everybody here in the room tonight. And we thank you so much. Thank you, Medea, for all you've done. And I look forward to partnering with you every step of the way. Yes, and I'm so inspired every time I see you carried off in another stand for justice and against genocide. I'm just counting my lucky stars, all of our lucky stars, that we have you leading the charge. So thank you so much for that.
Well, thank you. And I was sorry to see you hauled off, but sometimes you got to go to jail for justice. Thank you, Jill. Much love to you.
Likewise, Medea. Thank you so much. And I think now we are going to, and thanks to all the speakers, thank you for your wonderful inspiration. And now we're going to turn that inspiration into practical power. We're going to turn it into actual actions here to go all out, to pull out all the stops, to ensure that we are challenging empire, that we are on the ballot for every voter across the country. The main obstruction to this is New York, and tonight is all about building the power to take on New York State, that thought they were going to shut us out, but we have a surprise for them, and we are in the process right now. We have a lot of volunteers out. We can use more volunteers. If you are in New York, or if you are in striking distance of New York, please come to New York for a day or a weekend or a week. We have only 2 weeks left. We have to gather 45,000 valid signatures. That means if your voter registration uses your middle initial and you write your whole middle name, they can throw you off the petition, and they've hired an army of lawyers to try to nitpick us off the ballot. That's how clueless the Democrats are, that they proudly announced that they have hired an army of lawyers. Like, how clueless can you be to think that the American people aren't outraged by lawyering up, to destroy political competition and our right to have choices on the ballot? The American people are screaming for that. So there are ways that the Democrats are trying to block us. We've got to get 45,000 valid signatures, which means we got to collect about 90,000, because many of them, they're going to find ways to take them off the ballot. So we need everybody tonight to pitch in, and there are various ways you can pitch in. If you can't get to New York to volunteer, or even if you can, we need your help to generate the funds that we need to be sure we have the extra help. We need that margin of safety. We're pretty sure we're going to make it, but we need a margin of safety here to ensure that the people of Gaza are represented on this ballot, that an end to the genocide in Gaza is on the ballot, because the American people oppose it. And given the choice, they will stand up against it. And if we're on the ballot, we can force this genocide into the light of day and keep it front and center in the election. If we're not on the ballot across the country as a full bore campaign, you can be sure genocide and endless war will not be on the ballot, even though, as our other speakers pointed out, this not only endangers all of us, it impoverishes us. The military budget is consuming half of our congressional dollars. In fact, even more than that. And that's why we don't have the healthcare and the housing and the education, and people are mired in debt, and the climate crisis. We don't have the money we need. So I'm going to turn it over now to our campaign manager, Jason Call, who's going to walk us through how we can ensure that an end to genocide is going to be on the ballot in New York and across the country. Thank you so much. Take it away, Jason.
Thank you, Jill. And I just want to thank all of our speakers, amazingly inspiring. Jenan Matari, Andy Shallal, Anthony Zenkus, and Medea Benjamin. Just some wonderful endorsements. Surprise endorsement from Kyle Kalinske on behalf of him and Crystal. And I did want to reiterate again that what Professor Zenkus said, that it is the 2-year anniversary of the IOF targeted assassination of Palestinian-American journalist Shireen Abu Akleh. And I wanted to note the heroism of the press in Gaza. They are doing the work that is just amazing, and it's grueling, and the resilience of the people in Gaza that we see day after day as they are being starved. It is so horrific what we are seeing right now. This has to lift us. It has to lift us, because if we are going to challenge this in the political sphere, there are other ways we can help. We can donate to UNRWA, and we can work on other means to help the people of Gaza. But in the political sphere, this is the only campaign that's going to do it. So if we want that to be on the ballot, if we want that support, if we want to stop the genocide, if we want to stop the arms to Israel, we want to make sure that the Palestinian people survive this horrific tragedy that we are going to look back on 15 years, 20 years from now and say, my God, how could this have possibly happened? And what did we do in this moment to stop it? It happens right now. This is a fundraiser. So, while we're celebrating Jill's birthday, we are also doing it for a very explicit purpose, to get on the ballot in New York, which will open up access to us for all of the other states. It will be a massive challenge to Empire in the Empire State. As I saw people saying in the chat, this is the Empire State. Well, let's not let the Empire win this one. We need 45,000 valid signatures, which means we need to collect about 90,000 signatures. So you will see Justin and I think Elena in the chat are posting the links to sign up to be in touch with our campaign so that we can train you how to do it. The window, I have to tell you, do not delay. The window is incredibly short at this time. We do have teams on the ground right now. The Green Party of New York is working right now, and we have teams all over the state, but we can't leave any stone unturned. We have to fight this thing through for the next 2.5 weeks. Those signatures are due to the Board of Elections in New York on May 28th. So we have about 2.5 weeks to complete this process. And the campaign right now is just, so first of all, if you can be in New York and petition for us, that is the highest priority. If you can donate your time, if you can get yourself set up, if you need some assistance, reach out to us. We will do everything we can to make sure that you can get there and be set up. And we need you on the streets just hourly, daily, collecting those signatures. And if you cannot be there, then what we need you to do is to donate to this campaign. Now, we've set a lofty goal for this campaign of $74,000 for Jill's 74th birthday. What that money, all of that money, everything will go directly into paid petitioners for New York State. And if you are somebody who can take a paid job for us, and you're willing to be on the streets at an hourly rate, be in touch with us and get out to New York right away. We would, just to save the campaign money, I will say, if you live in New York State, please volunteer. But if you're somebody in one of the surrounding states and you're like, well, I get there, but I've got to get paid to do it, be in touch with us. We will work something out. Anything and everything that we can do to get those signatures is vital. And what's going to happen is if we win New York State, it just blows the race wide open. There's no doubt in our minds as a campaign that if we make New York, we will be a 50-state campaign. We have Illinois and Indiana coming up that we need to get done by the end of June, but the money will come in, the support will come in. If we get New York, it will be clear to everybody across the country that this is the campaign to challenge the oligarchy and to challenge empire. So again, Justin is putting the contact information in the Slack. Sorry, I say the Slack in the chat. Please be in touch with the campaign. We will get in touch with you and work out any way that we can get you to the state. And beyond that, as I said, this is a fundraiser. Please contribute. So let me talk a little bit about the fundraising aspect of this. Again, we want to raise $74,000 tonight. I'm just going to set the stage right now because the maximum that you can contribute to this race in the primary and then again in the general election is $3,300. So if you are somebody who can contribute, if you can max out, if this campaign is speaking to you and you know this is the only way we're going to fight through to have a real fighting chance to the future, and you are able to contribute the maximum amount, you can donate $3,300, and you could donate another $3,300 for the general election. Now, when I say that, I am quite aware that that is not possible for everybody. I always say when I do this, I couldn't donate that much right now, so I donate what I can. So all contributions are welcome. They are gratefully accepted, even if it's $5, even if it's $1. But if you can contribute the maximum amount, just know that that money is going to be put to good use, and the immediate good use that it's going to be put to is getting us ballot access in New York. So, Jill, do you want to follow up on anything right there in terms of the donations? Well, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I would just underscore that whatever you can contribute is great. And, if you can't contribute, right now, but you can contribute at the end of the month, that's great too. You can pledge based on what you think you can do soon. But I will say that what we need right now is, contributions today, because we have to do more hires to ensure that we're on in New York. So again, I would just urge people to do what you can do and to know that what you contribute tonight will make a huge difference. I mean, this is about saving lives. This is about challenging power. Just by having, a strong anti-genocide campaign, just for the empire to know that we are going full bore in New York, is enough to push Biden. Not that he can be pushed as far as he needs to go, but he may be pushed to put up some resistance. All he has to do is pick up the phone. Even if he shuts down weapons, Israel already has enough weapons, but he could pick up the phone. He could stop this thing in its tracks right now by doing what Ronald Reagan did in the 1980s, by doing what Dwight Eisenhower did in the 1950s. They both just insisted that Israel stop the bombing, stop the missile strikes, and bring their troops home. That could all be done immediately. And the stronger we are and the more financially powered we are, that is just huge in and of itself. So think of it as actually saving lives. Think of it as actually turning the screws on the apartheid, murderous government of Israel that is exercising genocide, committing genocide and ethnic cleansing right now. Every penny that you contribute helps us stop that genocide in its tracks. So thank you for whatever you can do.
And remember that the corporate duopoly parties, they are heavily funded by AIPAC. They are heavily funded by the war machine, by the fossil fuel industry, by the for-profit healthcare industry, all of the industries that this campaign seeks to challenge, not just for Gaza, but for college tuition, but for healthcare and housing, and all of the things that we consider the progressive issues that the Green Party has fought for decades. All of that comes along with this campaign. The top priority is of course ending the genocide in Gaza, but this is and I want to be quite clear about it, that there has been, I'm 52 years old. My first election was Bill Clinton's first presidency in 1992. And this is the first. And I voted for Ralph Nader. I voted for Obama. I worked hard for Bernie. But this is, when you come to the end of it and you see the way the corporate duopoly has oppressed the third parties and oppressed any movement that challenges the oligarchy and empire. I've looked back at the historical elections and I said, there's never been a chance for a third party to break through. The Libertarians have a candidate, and the Green Party, Jill has run twice before, and in those, while you vote your conscience, that it's a protest vote and that it's really not going to go anywhere. And I want people to be assured in this election, largely because of the horrific situation in Gaza. This is the first election in my lifetime that I can legitimately say that door is open. An electoral college win is open. And I want you to know that we are on the ballot in almost enough states to have 270 electoral college votes right now. But we intend to have all of them. We intend to be on the ballot in all 50 states. And if we are in some polling came out recently in the Wisconsin CBS poll, and this was actually before Jill and I and Kelly, and I want to give a shout out to our deputy campaign manager, Kelly, because we all got arrested at the same time, and we were just honored and proud and wouldn't have changed that moment for a second to stand with those students and go to jail. But I completely lost my train of thought there. But if we are on the Wisconsin polling, before we even went to jail, we were polling at 22%. This is a Wisconsin CBS poll, 22% among 18 to 30-year-olds. And this is a demographic, the youth, that has typically not been as politically engaged as we would like them to be, but they are waking up. They are driving the movement right now, just like they drove it in Vietnam to shut down the Vietnam War, just like they drove it for ending apartheid in South Africa in the 80s. It is the student movement that is standing up and leading the way, and they are getting politically engaged, and they will come out to vote in this election, and they could blow this thing wide open. And Jill, it looks like you want to say something here.
Yeah, I just want to jump in because two people have jumped the gun already, and each of them have contributed $1,000 to get us off to a jump start here. And I'm going to thank them in just one second. But first, I want to point out that there were about 1,000 people who had signed up for this webinar. I'm not sure how many are actually on, but if everybody who signed up contributed $74, we would be at our $74,000 goal for tonight to ensure that stopping genocide is on the ballot across the country by pushing through in New York State. So just to say, we can do this if we want to, if we decide to do it, we're going to do it. And this is small change compared to what we have to do in fighting empire. So I want to encourage people to go all out, to pull out all the stops tonight to ensure that we're going to stop genocide tonight. And I want to give a big shout out and a big thank you to Kirk Doherty, who contributed $1,000, and to Steve Welser, who also contributed $1,000. So thank you so much
Thank you
for
Thank you so
getting
much.
us off to a jump start.
So we are being restreamed to social media platforms. So we've got about 260 people watching us directly on this webinar right now, but we're hearing thousands more watching us on Twitter, watching us on YouTube. Your donations obviously count also, and if everybody pitched in, we could make our goal tonight. So I'm going to start my sort of like, let's cheer on some fundraising right now. I'm going to ask one more time. Is anybody out there in social media land or here in the room, is anybody able to contribute the maximum amount of $3,300? I'm not going to hang out on this very much, but just know that that money is going directly to ballot access. And if you are, let our people know. We're watching donations come in, and we will shout your name out. So I'm going to go just one more ask. If we can get $3,300, somebody to max out, that will be just an amazing way to kickstart our fundraising efforts here. So moving on from $3,300, and if you do choose to do that, we will shout your name out here. Moving on, if you can donate $1,500, we'll cut that amount in half. Can anybody, Allison Hastings, $500 right now. Thank you so much. Can you donate $1,500 right now? That is a little less than half of the max out amount. That will get us $1,500 is going to get us approximately 150 signatures in New York. And I want you to know that petitioning in New York, if we're paying people to do it, it's pricey. First of all, we're not allowed to pay by the signature. We have to pay an hourly wage. And typically your average signature was, a decade ago was going to be $3 a signature. It's $10, $12 a signature right now in New York if we are paying people to do it. So first of all, just know that if you are in New York and you are volunteering to get signatures, that in a way is a financial contribution to us, because that means we don't have to turn around and pay somebody to do it. So you're just express again that your volunteer help in New York in these last couple of weeks is absolutely crucial if you can do it. So anybody for $1,500, can anybody donate $1,500 tonight towards our goal of $74,000 for Jill's 74th birthday? $1,500 going once, going twice. Arlene is asking for a donation link in the chat. If you can put the donation link in the chat there, that would be fantastic. You can always go to the website, Jill Stein 2024, and there's a donation button up there. And let me just do this also. You can see this merchandise. I'm going to show you, lean over there, and you can see the Jill Stein sign. If you want to buy a sign, if you want to buy a hat, where's my hat? I've got a hat here somewhere. Here we go. We've got a Jill Stein 2024 hat. We have a full range of merchandise on the website also. So hats, t-shirts, mugs, tote bags, I want to say almost you name it, but stickers, bumper stickers, buttons, it's all on the website. Please go to the website. When you buy merchandise, that of course does help the campaign. It is a fundraising effort. So please, and yes, as Cindy says in the chat here, it's actually really, really well made. It's union made, and union printed, and it's very quality stuff. I have the full range of everything. If you are poor college students, what you can do is you can, it depends on where you are. And just so you know, once we're done with New York, we have about 25 other states that we're going to need to complete. So if you're like, I can't get to New York right now, I can't contribute any money right now, but if you are petitioning in my state, let me know, I can help. Go to somebody put the ballot access link up in the chat here. Jill Stein, and it's a tab on the website, ballot access. You can see the states that we're on. You can see the states that we're actively petitioning in. And there's a couple of odd ones, like somebody had asked about Delaware. In Delaware, we need people to register green. If you are a Delaware resident and you're not registered green, go register green right now. Get on the Secretary of State's website. It's an online registration. Register green. We need about 50 more people to register green, and that's what will get us ballot access. There's no petitioning in Delaware. Every state has different rules. And for instance, in Oklahoma, there's no petitioning in Oklahoma. It's just a $35,000 filing fee, but we don't have to pay that until mid-August. So we're not even worrying about that right now. But there's about 22 states that we are actively petitioning in right now. Somebody had asked about Ohio. Yes, we're petitioning in Ohio. We're about to turn signatures in Alaska and Nevada, which will put us over 270 electoral votes. And we're petitioning really all across the country. If you see a green state on that map, we're done. We're not petitioning there anymore. If you see a yellow state, we are actively petitioning. Please reach out to us and do whatever you can in those states. But again, right now, yes, we're petitioning in Maryland. Anyway, go to the ballot access map. You can look yourself. You can see the state. Is my state working for ballot access right now? If they are, please reach out. The contact info is in there. Please reach out to that state's Green Party, get a petition in hand, and go around your neighborhood collecting signatures, okay? So this is how the work is done. This is the grassroots work that needs to be done so that we can challenge empire all across the country. Now I'm going to go back to fundraising. Jill, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just going to chime in that if you are one of those few people who has already maxed out, what you can do is encourage someone else in your family to also donate, preferably to max out. You can do that. And the other thing you can do is you can donate now for the general. So you can donate up to $3,300 right now to just help lift this fundraiser up. You can do an advance on the latter half of the election. You can make a donation now. So those are just ways that we can help kick off this fundraiser. And then I want to give a shout out to David Hughes, who donated $500, and a shout out to Allison Hastings, who also donated $500. And then finally, I want to note that with 3,700 people now watching on Twitter and some 400 approximately watching on YouTube, that's over 4,000 people. If 1 out of every 4 people now watching on social media contributed $100, just 1 out of every 4 contributed $100, we've made it. We'll go beyond our fundraising goal for tonight. So if you're watching on social media, please consider stepping up and do what you can to help put us over the top. We can do this if we all pull together. Oh my goodness.
So we have Ronald Kurloff donated $1,000, and I just saw back here somebody donated, Zaid Ani donated $500. So this is how it's done, folks. And as we said, we know not everybody can give $1,000 or $500, and so all contributions are valued, and we're grateful for them. But we do, if people can give big, if people can give $1,000, again, we're putting that to good use right now. Ballot access in New York is you know, people are like, well, what are you doing in other places around the country? Right. You know, with all due respect to everywhere else in the country, we are focused on New York right now. We are laser focused on New York for the last 2.5 weeks of this campaign. If we get New York, it is going to blow the doors wide open for the rest of the states that we need to petition in. We have somebody donated, Meredith Hobbs, $150. Fantastic. Let's I'm going to do a call again. Anybody out there in social media land, people here in the room, can you donate $1,000 to us today? We are, again, our goal, it's a lofty goal, $74,000 for Jill's birthday, 74th birthday. And remember, this is the campaign. This is the only campaign that is going to legitimately be able to challenge the empire in November. So if that is your goal, you know, please kick in. You know, and unfortunately, and I'll tell you, the Green Party supports publicly financed elections. We do not want to have to fundraise. We don't think elections should be run this way, but because this is the system that we are stuck in, we have to do that fundraising. It is important for us to do the fundraising because it is the only way we are going to challenge the power. Once we can get in there, we can change the system. Jill, did you want to say something else?
Yeah, I just saw what Georgia wrote into the chat, which is that we now have a total for the day of 25,500. Most people are not donating through the birthday donate page. It's coming in through other pages, but that's great. And it adds up to $25,544 so far that we have brought in today. And I don't know about you, Jason, but my sense is that that's birthday fundraising right there. That gets us well on our way to this 74,000 that, you know, we're more than 1/3 of the way here.
Absolutely. So I want to say Peg and Sandy donated $75, another $75. Thank you so much. We'll bring, so, you know, people are kind of doing the math here, like if everybody donates this amount. So if everybody donated $7.40, like everybody watching, all 4,000 people watching on Twitter, everybody in the room here, everybody watching on YouTube, if everybody donated $7.40, that would bump our total up substantially. That's going to bring in, I mean, it's probably going to bring in $30,000 right off the top if everybody donates $7.40. Now, most people do not sort of, the analysis has been done on political campaigns, and this is what makes it really difficult for grassroots campaigns. The study was done that says somewhere around 3 or 4% of people ever donate to a political campaign in their life. So, you know, we have 330 million people in this country. So there's only a few million people in this country that actually say politics is important enough to me to, you know, give to the candidate that I prefer. And what we are doing is we are representing a different kind of politics, right? So maybe a lot of people donate because they don't donate because they don't think of the corporate parties as representing them. You know, they take a lot of big money. Why would I give to a corporate candidate who's already taking money from, you know, ExxonMobil or Boeing or Lockheed Martin, for example, or is being funded by AIPAC? Why would I do that? But I have to reiterate, we don't take any corporate money. We don't take a dime of corporate money. We don't take any PAC money whatsoever. So we are entirely reliant on contributions from individuals who believe in our mission, who want to support our mission. So I'm going to throw it out again one more time. Can anybody donate $500? Anybody in the room donating $500? We're going to shout your name out. Day, I see you with a $90 donation. Appreciate that. Julie from TikTok, $75. Let's see. Yeah, we got that one. Bob, $500 through the birthday page. That is what we need to see. Thank you so much, Bob. Appreciate it. Let me do another call out for $500. $500 may be a good amount for some of you to donate. Obviously not for everybody, and that is just fine. So Georgia, our fundraising director, told us, so just a minute ago, we had a number around $25,000. Georgia says we're up to $31,000. This is how it happens, folks. This is exactly how it happens. Okay. We are the campaign that is going to challenge the empire in November. Let's go. Diana, Diana's donated $100. She's going to add another $400 to make it equal to $500.
man.
Diana Nava, thank you so much.
Diana.
Can we do some more call outs? If this is inspiring you, if you know this is the way to go, and you're like, yeah, I can take $500 today, just know it's all going to New York. It's all going to help us succeed in New York. And once we have toppled the empire in the Empire State, all the other states are going to be wide open to us. Jill, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to weigh in about that. If there was ever a time to go all out, this is that time. Because if we're on in New York, the rest is relatively easy, and it's a shot across the bow of the empire that we are here, that we have broken through their most vicious, dirty tricks to keep us off the ballot. New York is the last holdout of the empire. It's where they went to incredible depths of dirty tricks to put a poison pill into their budget in order to triple the number of signatures required. Nobody knew that it was there. It wasn't debated. It wasn't discussed. And all of a sudden, voila, none of the independent or alternative parties could get on the ballot. And, so far, none have. Just RFK, who's buying his way on the ballot, with super PACs and a billionaire running mate.
Jill, I'm seeing that Pierce donated the maximum amount. We've got a max out donation right now.
Oh man, Pierce, thank you so much. This is the time to go all out. Exactly. This is the time, because this is where we open the floodgates to the power of this campaign to challenge empire. The only way that empire is going to be challenged is if we are on the ballot. And the only way we're going to be on the ballot across the country is if we push through the dirty tricks here in New York. So I can't thank you enough. This is the time to just dig however deep you can. This is the time to do it.
Thank you so much, Pierce. That is amazing. We're now nearing $35,000. Kat Kindo, $72. Let's see here. Let's see. Monique sent $74. So that's another great amount. Jill's 74th birthday. If the thousands of people out there watching say, yeah, I can send $74 in for Jill's birthday, that would be amazing. Sarah, another $74. This is how it's done. We grow the movement bit by bit. If $500 is in your range, please send us $500. Sharon, another $74. This seems to be a great number for the night. This number is resonating with us, $74. If you can throw in $74, please do. I'm going to bring it down from $500 a little bit. Can you donate $250? $250 is approximately $74 times 3. But a $250 donation would $75. Cindy, thank you. $1 to 74 plus 1 to grow on. I love that. Can you donate $250 right now? $250 is going to get us, it doesn't seem like a lot, but it adds up. 25 to 30 signatures is what $250 will bring us. Those are the going rates. Jacob, $7.40. Thank you so much. $7.40, $74. Either way, they're both fantastic. It's what we need to grow the movement. Jill?
I wanna shout out what Sarah Habash said here, saying, love you all so much. You have given me hope, crying tears of joy. And that's kind of what we're doing for each other, the connection that Professor Anthony Zenkus was talking about. This is how we create, the universe that we choose to live in, instead of, this horrific universe that's being inflicted on us by the political predators. We're creating the opposite of that, a connected community, which is hope. And it's also what I think of as power. In the words of Alice Walker, the biggest way people give up power is by not knowing we have it to start with. We have that power. We are digging deep. We are asserting that power here tonight. And just big thank you to everyone who's giving all of us, I think, here's a point.
We don't have to accept the status quo. $250 from Hazim. Thank you so much, Hazim. Is that Hazim in Indiana? Thank you, Hazim. If it isn't, let us know where you are. $100 from Kuratulain. If I said your name right, Kuratulain, $100. Thank you so much. Aisha, let's go back to merchandise. $41.90 worth of merchandise. That's going to go in our coffers. That counts towards our total also. Thank you so much. Yep, Coeur d'Alene, we got that, $100 there. $75, another $75 from Day, and I know that's another $75 because I saw the first one come through. Thank
And
you so much.
Monique is going to donate $100 when she gets her next paycheck on May 17th. Well, that won't be too late. May 17th will definitely be a boost to what we're doing. So thank you, Monique, for that pledge.
And $74 from Arathi in Ohio. Thank you so much. We got 4,500 people watching on Twitter right now. Let me give a shout out to Twitter because we are very active on Twitter in this campaign. And if you know anything about our positions, you may have gotten that from Twitter because we have been messaging out consistently to end the war in Gaza. Let's not forget that we are here to stop genocide. But other things, you know, it is amazing to me right now that we have a political establishment where you've got two of the most historically unpopular presidential candidates ever are being forced down our throats again. We don't have to accept this. I mean, that's what a lot of what we are doing right now is we don't have to accept the narrative that the political establishment is forcing on us now and has been forcing on us our entire lives, right? Now is the time to stand up. We may be talking about a general strike here at some point. We're gonna see about some messaging around that. We're gonna consult with some union folks around it. But you know, is it time to grind the gears of this war machine to a halt? You know, what are we going to do to actually stop this war machine from killing more people? You know, what is it going to take? Is it going to take a general strike? I'm somebody who has been for it for years right now. That we do not have to accept the status quo that sucks our labor, that forces people to work 3 jobs, and they can't even make their rent. And where does that labor go? It goes right up to the top 1%. Jill?
So I want to give a big thank you to Kuratulian, if I'm saying that right, who donated 100, and to Day Juani, I think it is, who also donated 100. And I want to speak to a comment that Jazz just made about thanking us for standing up for women's reproductive rights and canceling student debt. And I want to point out, you know, there's so much fear mongering out there about, oh, you could get Trump elected. Well, you know, I just want to point out that it's pretty hard to say which one is the greater evil and which one is the lesser evil when the one who's supposed to be the lesser evil is leading the charge on genocide and censorship and then also immigrant bashing in the same way that the Republicans are. So there's really nothing to lose here. And the real powerful story here is what happened under Richard Nixon, the most, you know, one of the most conservative and reactionary presidents ever. What happened is that we were armed. That is armed with, you know, with the power of our convictions. We were out in the streets and we brought the troops home from Vietnam. We pressured the Supreme Court into legalizing abortion for the first time. This was in a Republican Supreme Court under a Republican president. We pushed forward on women's right to choose. We established the EPA and the Clean Air Act and the Clean Water Act and OSHA's protection of workers' health and rights on the job. We did so many things because we had the courage of our convictions. We have the courage of our convictions now, and it's so important for us to stand up and to vote with the power of those convictions and to lay the groundwork right now by doing what we're doing, by contributing what you can contribute so that we can stand tall and know that we are going to be on the ballot in every state, and we're going to break through the resistance in New York.
And that courage is contagious. We have said this over and over again in this campaign. This courage is contagious. look at what happened with the student movement. It started with students at Columbia University saying we want our university to divest from corporations that are supporting Israel, and it caught like wildfire all over the country. Just, you know, probably over 100 campuses by this point. And these students are standing up to the authorities. They are being brutalized. You've seen it. But nothing is stopping them. The solidarity, and I want to tell you, I told this story on our last opportunity when we were talking. I think it was on Savvy Sab's show. Jill and I were talking that when I was in the jail cell with those students, there was not a single person in that jail cell who wasn't happily there for the right reason. They were, you know, they were there standing up for the cause. They're like, oh, I'm worried about losing my housing. I'm worried about losing my scholarship. But you know what? I stood up for the right thing. And this is what we need to do. This is the sacrifice that we need to be willing to make. And we're going to do as a campaign everything we can to make things right for everybody who stood up in this movement. Believe that. But being willing to stand up for justice, there's nothing more important in the world right now. And this is the campaign that's going to do it. I want to shout out some names. Pepper donated $25. Pepper is such a great supporter of the progressive movement and has supported Jill for the last few months, made her decision that Jill was the campaign to get behind, and has been out there on Twitter really being a great promoter of the campaign. And I've known Pepper for like 4 or 5 years now over social media. And, you know, there's nobody who uses social media to the benefit of progressive causes better than Pepper. So Pepper, thank you so much. I'm going to read out a few more. $74 from Paul in Florida, $125 from Crypt Zombie on YouTube. Thank you. Let's see. We'll roll down here if I can see any more. $7.40 from Heather. It looks like Benjamin Wright, $103 plus $35 in merchandise and $50 donations, several $50 donations over the past few months. Benjamin, thank you so much. Let's see here, scrolling down.
While you're scrolling there, I just want to announce the latest totals, which are now 36,600. So we are actually getting halfway. We're getting to the halfway point in our goal. So this is like amazing. I want to also give a shout out to Arathi, who contributed $74. Thank you, Arathi. And to point out that our Twitter numbers keep going up. We're now at an audience of like 4,500 people watching on X, which is, to me, astounding that people are watching a fundraiser, because I think people are really plugged in. You know, this is like the hope of the nation. This is like the resistance going on right now to the police violence, to the suppression of our constitutional rights going on campuses. This is where we are standing up for our basic humanity and our basic values and the opinions of the American people who are being locked out of this election. So that's what we are doing here together tonight. This is so amazing.
$100 from Tanya, I saw. Thank you. And Tanya has long COVID, and you know, this reminds me that we were hoping to release the platform tonight. We were going to say, hey, big surprise, we're going to release the platform. We have been so busy this last month that, you know, Jill has been following, you know, the last couple of weeks, Jill has just been doing back-to-back media spots. On Thursday, she did Crystal and Kyle in the morning, and then she did Andrew Marr's show out of the UK, and then she went to Brianna Joy's show on Bad Faith, and then we did Savvy Sabs in the evening, and it's just been wall-to-wall media spots, and we're so excited to do them, but we did not get that last little piece of the platform done. But what we have committed to do, and I talked to Jill about this, you know, we have one more section that we need to review, and we are going to, I'm going to commit to this right now. We're going to release the platform tomorrow. We may even get it up by midnight tonight if we have the energy to do it after this fundraiser. But you are going to see a platform within the next 24 hours. I put my personal promise on that. I don't know what that means to anybody, but I always follow through with with what I say. So we will get that platform out to you. It's been a long time coming. We've been working extremely hard on it. A lot of what we have been doing is addressing injustice, right? What is our platform doing? It is addressing the injustices that have been forced on people, a wide variety of people from all demographics for decade after decade after decade. And what our administration is going to do is not just correct, our errant foreign policy and stop this war in Gaza. We are going to stop the war on marginalized people in this country. We're going to stop the war on poor people in this country. In fact, we are going to do everything we can to ensure that we have reduced income inequality, right? We're gonna tax the rich. People say tax the rich. We intend to tax the rich. We intend to make sure that people have a living wage. We intend to make sure that people aren't spending 50% of their income on housing. These are the things that we are going to address in an administration. And Jill, I don't know if you want to mention a few things about what we're going to do on the first day, or what our first day looks like, or what our first 100 days look like. I think this is a good time to inspire people. And remember, this is a fundraiser. If you hear what you like and you're like, yeah, I want that in an administration, please kick in.
Great. Yes. Unlike most presidents who are commander in chief, it's all about the military. It's all about the armed forces. Our presidency will be organizer in chief. That will be our lead calling, to be organizer in chief, because once we win the office, our work has only just begun. Now, hopefully we will win along with many candidates for Congress and Senate, like Jason Call, who is a candidate in the 2nd district. Do I have it in Washington
State? Yep.
So we have any number of really wonderful congressional candidates that I hope will all be part of a green wave coming into elected office in the election. But our goal is to organize the people. Basically, democracy needs to start from the grassroots on up, but, ordinary mortals have been locked out of our political system. And, the old-fashioned institution called town hall meetings, when elected representatives would gather with members of the community and discuss critical issues, and they would hear input so that they could represent their constituents. That doesn't happen anymore, because elected officials now are all about representing their donors and the big lobbyists. So we would bring back town hall meetings. We would also bring back congressional hearings, so that we would be holding the feet to the fire of our representatives and making clear what's going down. What kind of interference is the CIA conducting now? Like with the church committee back in, what was it, the 60s or the 70s, where, all this interference by the CIA was exposed, and where Congress began to watchdog that. That's what the intelligence committees were supposed to be about. They're no longer watchdogging. They're kind of part of the, behind the scenes manipulation. But that is our intent, is to empower the people, because according to the Declaration of Independence, all power, just power, derives from consent of the governed. So we want the governed to be leading the way. And, people are leading the way, in the demand for a progressive agenda, which is really shared pretty much across the board, regardless of political orientation. So there is enormous momentum for Medicare for all, healthcare as a human right, for free public higher education, for affordable housing, for the right to a job, for a living wage. There is enormous public demand, and we intend to harness that. On day one, just know that on day one, we can, number one, the flow of weapons stops. The administration just stopped the reporting on Israel's actions with their weapons. They were stopping it, and then something came through that actually said that terrible human rights abuses were being committed with those weapons. The flow of weapons should be shut down immediately. There should be a complete weapons embargo, but the US has all the power. 80% of what Israel's doing is with our weapons. So we can shut that down, and the president has the authority to do that. The president can also pick up the phone and instruct Israel that the party is over, that the genocide is over, the occupation is over, and the apartheid state is over, that Israel needs to begin complying with international law, and we can put all the force of our country behind that. So that's part of what happens on day one. The genocide is done. Also on day one, we declare an environmental emergency, which means that we can shut down fossil fuel development along the coasts. And there's huge development going on along the coasts right now by way of these 22 liquid natural gas export facilities started up or basically approved by the Biden administration. And these are devastating. The Sierra Club said that these 22 new LNG facilities are the equivalent of building 440 new coal plants. This knocks us back, erases all progress made in climate emissions back to the year 2005. And it makes Donald Trump look like a climate activist, what Biden is basically pushing forward right now. So all of that stops. It grinds to a halt on day one. And also by declaring an emergency, we unleash hundreds of billions of dollars to actually jumpstart the Green New Deal and to begin creating the jobs, to create the emergency transition to a green economy. And unlike the Democrats, they're all for green energy, but they're not for reducing fossil fuels. And if you haven't reduced fossil fuels, all the green energy in the world doesn't help, not one iota. Nature doesn't understand or care about renewable energy. People do, but nature doesn't. If you want to help the climate, you got to phase out fossil fuels. So we can begin to do that and create the alternatives, actually fund a climate corps and an environmental corps and put everybody to work who's working in the fossil fuel industry and in the weapons industry so that we can transform our economy to a peaceful and green economy. Plus, I have to mention, Julian Assange goes free, Edward Snowden goes free, Leonard Peltier goes free, and Mumia Abu Jamal goes free, so many political prisoners. And you know who else goes free? All the hundreds of thousands of people who've been locked up for simple possession, use, and cultivation of cannabis and other drugs. People should not be sitting in jail for simple use. And we will begin, in fact, on day one, we will begin the process of legalizing marijuana, cannabis across the country. And we will also begin the process of decriminalizing all drugs so that substances and their use is approached as a public health problem, not as a criminal problem, because that simply empowers the drug cartels and all the violence that surrounds the drug trade, both in this country and south of the border.
I want to shout out John Harding here, who donated $1,074.
Yes.
John, thank you so much. So we have been on for almost 2 hours right now. I don't think we're going to make our $74,000 goal. But I do want to say, let's push it to 50 because people have been really contributing a lot in the last 15 or 20 minutes. We went from 34,000 to 36,000, and Georgia tells me we're now around 42,000. So if we can find a way to bring in another $8,000 over the next 11 minutes, and we get to $50,000, we're going to call that a win. And just know that all of that is going to go to New York ballot access. I do want to give a shout out to something that Eric said, Eric T. Red in the chat. And he said, you know, this campaign needs to be supported as part of a larger movement. Remember, it's not just this campaign. What this campaign needs to be is an awakening for people everywhere that they can take control of their government, that we don't have to accept this status quo of the very wealthy and the corporations dictating to us what our lives are going to be. We know that things can be better. We know that there's resources to go around. It is amazing that we have such wealth inequality in this country because we say we're the greatest democracy on the face of the earth. Well, how can you have a democracy when you have 3 people in this country who have more wealth than the bottom 50% of the country? That's not a democracy. Vast wealth inequality is inherently undemocratic. So we need public financing elections. We need to get corporate money out of it. We need to have the rich stop buying our state legislatures and our Congress, and we need to have a government that functions for all of the people. And we do not have that right now. I don't need to tell you that. You know that. So what I want to do is refocus it to ballot access in New York. Let's see if we can make it to $50,000. We're at about $4,300 right now. David Schwartz, $400. Let's see here. We're about 43 and a half right now. Scrolling through. Okay, so in the next 9 minutes, let's see if we can bring in about $6,500. With everybody watching on Twitter, if everybody gave $25, can you give $25? That would blow Benjamin Wright another $50. That would blow our goal out of the water. We'll set a goal of $50,000, but if everybody kicks in, everybody watching right now says, I'm going to give $25 to this campaign. That is Brianne says she can do $25. Can you do $25? I want $25 donations right now. I'm not going to go for the high marks. We're not going to go for $500, $250. If everybody can say, you know what? I can put off, I don't know what it is, your avocado toast or your coffee or whatever it is. I know that avocado toast, the kids can't afford anything because they're buying avocado toast these days. No, we know people need to be paid more. But let's see if we can get that up to Eric. Eric is kicking in right here. Eric T. Red, $25. Let's have 1,000 $25 donations. And then we actually do get up to our $74,000 goal. But at the very least, if a bunch of you will kick in $25, we're going to make our $50,000. Ramona Lawson, $75. Thank you so much. Let's keep it going. Jill, how do we want to wrap this up here for the last 8 minutes? We are going to close it down at the half hour. Another $75 or $74 from Paul in Florida. Thank you so much. Jill?
I was just going to share, our fight on the campus at Washington University, because it really brought home kind of how the crisis of militarism has come back. It's kind of boomerang. The crisis of militarism is what's represented by the genocide in Gaza. That really is kind of the tip of the iceberg of the empire. What is going on in Gaza, as Ronald Reagan's Secretary of Defense said, that Israel is the unsinkable battleship for the U.S. in the Middle East. It's where the U.S. has its perch at the site of major oil production. And so, what's going on in Israel and Israel's control over Gaza, Israel's plan, which has been there from the get-go. Unfortunately, this has been a really difficult thing for Zionists to get their hands around. Growing up Jewish myself, we were taught that Zionism is, bringing people without a land to a land without the people. Well, no, it's not that. It's not that at all. And in fact, there were these historic revelations in the 1990s, where the National Archives in Israel made their historic documents available for the first time to historians, who discovered that actually there was a plan of ethnic cleansing from the get-go. And it wasn't just a nice plan, it was a terrorist plan. It was a plan of massacres and displacement that began at the very start. So, it's been a rude wake-up that Israel has been this basically an outpost for the U.S. empire. And that empire has come home to roost in the form of police brutality. Who's training these police? None other than the Israeli occupation forces, who are training the police, who are now, bearing down on us in the most violent and horrific way. So our team was at the Washington University in St.
Washington
Louis.
University. Yep.
We were there for, we weren't actually on campus. We were nearby, a couple blocks away, doing a campaign event. There were a lot of students there speaking eloquently about this encampment that they had just started that day. They invited us to come. We came. To make a long story short, they asked us to try to de-escalate the situation, along with some of the elected officials from St. Louis who were also there. The administration was really not interested in de-escalating. They are interested in preserving their contracts with Boeing, which is known to be producing some of the weapons killing children and everybody else in Gaza. So to make a long story short, the students then asked us to join their lineup, just encircling the encampment. And we said, yes, of course, because it is the students who are really leading the charge, who are asserting their moral authority as those who are like inheriting the world here. Asserting our values and standing up for the values that the American people support, that the United Nations supports, that the International Court of Justice supports. They're standing up for it. So we said, yes, of course, we are there to stand by you. And to make a long story short, you've probably seen some of the videos where the cops came at us. And, you know, they were really centering yours truly here with a bicycle as a battering ram, trying to push us over. And Jason was on one side and Kelly was on the other. And they were trying to push us over back onto our heads to knock us down. And as they were pushing hard, and you can see on the video how we're kind of like going like this, about to fall on my head. And one of the cops, you can't quite see this, but it's in the corner of the video. One of the cops bends down, picks up one of my feet and jerks it upward in order to, like, you know, be the final blow to get me to fall back and, you know, bash my head. And just by, you know, luck of the draw, I had this like reflex to get, you know, to like recover my balance, and I managed to get out of his grip. And then he yelled at me that I was going to be charged with, or I think he said, "You're under arrest." I'm paraphrasing, because I was pretty distracted at the time, but it was something to the effect that you're under arrest for assaulting a police officer as they're assaulting us with a battering ram, trying to throw us back onto our heads. It was just such a, you know, such a microcosm of what's wrong with this picture, and how this violence of our militarism has now come back to assault students standing up for our constitutional rights, to assault those of us who are standing up with them. And we need to be a united front, you know, and it just deepens our respect for the students who are enduring all of this, plus the threats to their future careers. They're being blacklisted by Bill Ackman and the like, you know, who are funding these Zionist mobs to attack the students in University of Southern California. That's all being funded by the billionaire Zionist Bill Ackman. You know, it's just all these things are interconnected. Courage is contagious. We are seeing that courage now, just unstoppable. We need to be a part of it. We need to stop the empire in its tracks in New York State, where they are trying to suppress and obliterate our democracy, our freedom of speech, our ability to vote for a candidate of our choice. And by chipping in whatever you can afford tonight, if you can afford $5, you know, give $5 now.
I'm going to say where we are right now. $74 from Matt McKenna. Thank you so much. So here's where we stand right now. We are around $46,000. We'd like to make it to 50. That is fewer than 200 people. And we've got thousands of people watching. That's fewer than 200 people kicking in $25. But whatever it is, you know, it's 1,000 people giving $10. It's 2,000 people giving $5. Let's make it to $50,000. We're gonna close it down here at 7:30. For everybody who is watching here in the next minute, think about what this would mean to have a 50-state challenge to the genociders in the Republicans and the Democratic Party. And RFK is no friend of Palestine. Remember, 3 campaigns that are pro-genocide only one is going to stand against it. And that's what we're asking you to help fund. We need to get on the ballot in New York. Sign up, throw the links in again for New York ballot access. Reach out to the campaign, help us on the ground in New York. Help us get our $50,000 goal for tonight. Again, fewer than 200 people giving $25. And remember, we are the ones who are going to stand for justice in November. Jill, any final words?
Just, forget the lesser evil, fight for the greater good like our lives depend on it. Forget the politics of fear. Politics of fear has delivered everything we were afraid of and are afraid of. This is about standing up with the politics of courage. It's not only contagious, it's absolutely unstoppable. And thank you so much to everyone for being here tonight, for helping us create this margin of safety to ensure that we are going to be on the ballot and we're going to be going strong. If you can join us in New York, please join us in New York and be a part of this exercise of our democratic rights. As they are trying to take them away, it's time for us to double down and stand up for the promise of democracy and an America and a world that works for all of us. This is within our reach if we stand up and make it so. So thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Free Palestine, and let's make it happen.
Thank you, everybody. And you can still give. We're going to close down, but if it strikes you that, hey, you know what, I really should kick in, we hope to reach that $50,000 goal by midnight. So thank you, everybody, for joining us. Wonderful speakers. Professor Zenkus, who's still hanging out with us in the room here. Thank you for the whole team, Kelly, Nada, Justin, Elena, who are with us tonight. Georgia, thank you. We've got an amazing team. And just fully dedicated people, like morning, noon, and night. This team is working hard to make this happen. So thank you all, everybody, and we're going to go ahead and close it down now.
Thank you so much. Unstoppable together. Thank you. Free Palestine.
Free Palestine.